Sorry. I can't see who's on. But most of you know who I am, Cari Shulkin. And most of you probably know, because I think some of you have signed up. Linda, Leanne, myself, and Sharon are doing this matter of balance. And we want to kind of talk about falls. And so I asked some of the students to kind of hang for a little bit because we've got different generations here. And just tell me who has fallen in the last year. Okay. Who has fallen and has been injured pretty bad? Okay. Who's afraid of falling? Look at that. That's almost everybody. How about you guys at home? Any you guys experience a fall recently or any injuries from a fall? You have to unmute your microphone.
Nope.
Nope. Oh, John. Hey, John. So that's what I want to talk about. Yeah.
We have a bridge that goes in the front of the going over there. That's going over that bridge. One time I walked it, and I did it. I ended up my belly.
Yes.
And everybody was, oh, you don't feel it. And I got up and walked in, continued on.
So for those of you at home, Mary was saying that, was it your sandals that got caught? Yeah, she was wearing sandals and took a path she always takes to Costco. She goes over this bridge and her sandals caught and she fell, though her abdomen kind of blocked the fall. So she didn't really get hurt, but the potential was really there. I mean, it can happen in just a blink of an eye. And it can be very, very scary. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about falls. And as a nurse, I wanted to show you some techniques. And Linda and I have done this lecture quite a few times, but I think there's going to be really valuable information. And if you want to participate in the Matter of Balance program that's starting Friday for like the next 8 Fridays from 11 to 1, we have room for a few more people if you want to participate in that. So how big of a problem are falls? So 1 out of 3 older adults, well, so what does that mean? Those age 65 or older have falls each year, but less than half talk to their healthcare providers about it. So have you guys had discussions? I'm not going to talk to the students because they probably haven't. No, but have you guys talked to your docs about it? Oh, okay. And what did they say, Freddie?
Well, you know, of course, be careful. And that's one of the first questions. Have you had a recent fall?
Yeah.
That they want to know.
Yes.
And I think it's because they want to make sure that their office is safe too. And that if they need assistance getting you up or picking you up or walking with you.
Right. Also, there can be an early intervention if they're asking you every time you come into the office, have you had any falls recently? And you mark yes, then that's going to tell them to ask more questions and find out, is there a medication problem that's making you dizzy? Is it a bad knee? Is it a bad, like it's a way to trigger to ask more questions as well. So among older adults, falls are the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries. Okay, let me ask you another question. Honestly, who has been on a ladder in the last year? That's fine. No. Ladders are like, I know, but I think about it before I get on a ladder. In fact, I will ask, my kids were home this last week. And so there's a couple light bulbs that needed changing. And so I just left it all up to them because I don't want to get on a ladder. That happened as well. Yes, I know. I got on a ladder last week because of that.
Perhaps that's why they have us change it at a designated time.
Yeah. And so you're not
before
doing it
goes
at
out.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
Did someone have a question in the back? A step ladder? Like a step stool? I like a step stool, but we're going to actually talk about that because we all have those stools, but they actually have step stools that have handles.
Yeah.
And the more stable you can be, the less likely you are to fall. And one of the last ladders I bought actually has an extension that I can hold on to, and it kind of curves around. So if I'm up high, I don't feel like I'm just like trying to balance up there, especially if you're raising above. I've got kind of this probably a false sense of security, but it kind of wraps around. So I feel a little bit more secure. So I think I have pictures of those types of step stools. Okay, so how big is this problem? 36 million non-fatal falls among older adults were treated in emergency departments, and more than 734,000 of these patients were hospitalized. That's about 28% of adults in this age group. That's kind of high. In 2015, the direct medical cost of falls, meaning how much did it cost to treat in the United States to treat all these falls, was 30 billion. That's a lot.
That's a big number.
Right? That's really a lot. So what outcomes are linked to falls? So I want to tell you a quick story because my grandfather I think he was like 84 or 85, and this is back in the Midwest. And he always walked from his house on a sidewalk to the local little store. And this town is like Mayberry. It's just this small town. And if the neighborhood knew him as Buck, if Buck didn't show up at Keck's store, then my mom would always get notified. Because it was maybe a 10-minute walk. And one day he didn't make it that day to Keck's, and my mom got a call and he had fallen. More than likely, he fell and broke his hip, but more than likely he probably broke his hip and fell. Meaning that as we get older, our bones can become more brittle and more prone to breaking, especially if there's a diagnosis of osteoporosis, where your bones become very, very brittle. And that's what they kind of thought probably happened to my grandfather, was that he probably broke his hip, fell, and then it was the kind of, then it was fixing the hip, and then it was pneumonia after the surgery, and then it was just the cascading downhill spiral. So what outcomes are linked to falls? So not always is it fatal, but 20 to 30% of people who fall suffer moderate to severe injuries, such as, cuts, hip fractures, and head traumas. Falls are the most common cause of traumatic brain injuries, that TBI. 51% of fatal falls among older adults were due to traumatic brain injury. So when we talk about traumatic brain injury, we're talking about a big injury to the brain where there's probably lasting deficits. And I'm thinking about if anyone's on a blood thinner, like Eliquis, Coumadin, heparin, anything like that, you're going to be more prone to bleed. And if you bleed because you've hit your brain is in an enclosed capsule. So if you bleed, there's no room for it to go. It just condenses the brain and causes brain injury. And when you have brain injury like that, it can be fatal, or it can give you lasting deficits. So it can be very, very scary. So the idea is we don't want people to fall, right? Oops, other way. Okay. Most fractures among older adults are caused by falls, and the most common are fractures of the spine, the hip, the forearm, leg, ankle, pelvis, upper arm, and hand. Okay, so let's talk about what is not usually the most common. We hit all the big bones, right? Oh, shoulder, yeah. One of the nurses I used to work with, she said that she was walking on a sidewalk and she tripped and fell and broke both her forearms. And she went on to say, do you know what it's like when you have two broken forearms? You can't put your clothes on. You can't wipe yourself. It was difficult to feed herself. I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's, you just don't think about those things.
The other thing, Carrie, too, when you break your ribs,
Ah,
people don't really understand or know a lot about the ribs because you usually don't, but when you fracture them, it involves so much more. Breathing, coughing, sneezing, getting up.
it's super painful. Yep. And sometimes people don't get treatment because they don't think it's fractured. And until because maybe they do have trouble breathing because of the pain. And then an x-ray shows, but there's still nothing you can do about it. They're not going to cast your ribs. So many people develop a fear of falling. This fear may cause them to limit their activities, which leads to reduced mobility and the loss of physical fitness, and in turn increases their actual risk of falling. So does that make sense? I'm afraid, so I'm not going to do anything. And then I'm not really using all my muscles. And now I'm at a higher risk of falling. So we can't get into that cycle. That cycle is like the worst thing ever. So we really have to address that fear and make sure that everyone is instilled with confidence. And that's really what this program that we're starting, it's really focusing on not being afraid and knowing and preventing falls. So how can we prevent falls? So exercise regularly. Well, I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are here, you're exercising, and that's the best thing you can do. Because exercising, and specifically what Linda does, she really does focus on increasing leg strength, improving balance, and especially if the exercises are getting more challenging over time. Tai Chi is especially good, what Dave does with us every morning. So if you're attending and participating in some of the classes we have here, you can check that box that you're actually gaining strength in your legs and increasing flexibility and balance. But the other thing we should talk about is, talking to your doctor or your pharmacist to review your medications. Because if you're taking a medication that's making you a little dizzy or lightheaded, like any of the blood pressure medications, so, you bound out of bed or you stand up quickly and then you feel super lightheaded and then you can fall, right? So you have to be very, very careful if you're having any type of dizziness or lightheadedness with your medications, whether we're talking about prescriptions or even over the counter. So identifying those medications that may be causing side effects or giving you that interaction that could be dizziness or even drowsiness. Right? If you're super drowsy, you're at a higher risk of falling as well. Is anyone experiencing that from medications? Feeling a little dizzy or lightheaded? Yeah? Do you know which medication it is? A little lightheaded? Yeah. What time do you take that medication? Yeah. Yeah. Always try to space them out a little bit. And if you're feeling real dizzy, just drinking some water may help as well. Okay, so how can we prevent falls? Here's some more things. Have your eyes checked at least once a year. Because if you can't see, consider getting a pair of single vision distance lenses for some activities such as walking outside. And let me tell you, that is so true. We want to make sure that vision is good. And even cataract can really impair your vision. And you don't really notice it because it happens so slowly over time that when you get that cataract removed, you're like, oh my gosh, the sun is shining, like you can see detail. My mother-in-law says, I didn't realize all the dust on my floors until I had my cataract removed. And so also making your home safer by reducing tripping hazards, adding grab bars inside and outside the tub or shower, next to the toilet, adding railings on both sides of stairways, and improving the lighting. So anyone in here have rails near your shower or your bath? Oh God, it's the best thing. It's the best thing ever. Our stairs only has one railing, and it's making me think about in the future as well. So to lower hip fracture risk, older adults can, make sure you're getting adequate calcium and vitamin D, whether it's from food or your supplements. But the next time you see your doctor, have it checked, see where that level is. And if you're low, you need to kind of do something about it. Doing weight-bearing exercise. When I say that, do you know what that means? Weight-bearing? That means it is the treadmill or the recumbent bike. Which one is weight-bearing? The treadmill. That you're carrying all your weight while you're exercising. That's like the best way to kind of build up those bones. Now, if you can't walk on the treadmill or take walks, getting some form of exercise is better than no exercise at all. But get screened, and if needed, get treated for osteoporosis if you find that you have it. What is that bone density scan? Who has had that? DEXA scan. Who's had that?
Yes.
Okay, obviously. Thank you for that. Yeah. I think everybody should have. Yeah. Anyone not have a DEXA scan? It's a bone density. Talk to your doctors about it. It's a super duper easy thing to do. And I think usually by the time you're 50, I thought was the first. No, is that what was the first time? Yeah. What?
No.
Oh. So checklist for hazards in each room. And no, that is not my bedroom. But clear a path to walk through a room, right? Especially like I think about it when, sometimes the towels in the bathroom or take your clothes off, sometimes they just end up on the floor. But I always think about that before I go to bed, that it's not in the pathway between the bed and going into the restroom. So make sure there's always a clear path through the room, or just keep your rooms picked up. Be careful of rugs, or if you have rugs, like throw rugs, anchor them so they can't slip, or you won't trip on them. Yeah.
Home Depot, yeah, that was very strong.
Oh,
And had sticky on them.
yep. Yep. I bought that. I can't think of what they're called, but someone was talking about, I can't even think what they're called, but there's really super duper sticky, double-sided sticky tape that you can put so your rugs stay, and that you're not going to slip on them. Keep objects off the floor, and be careful of coil or tape wires or cords. Like we do that around here because we know it's such a tripping hazard.
And Carrie, also,
Yeah.
good slippers. I mean, slippers are really, they can
Yeah.
be very dangerous, and a lot of slippers enlarge after you wear them for quite a while. And
Yeah,
That
it's-
will cause an accident.
right. And if you think about slippers, that's such a great point. When you think about slippers, you think, oh, I'm just going to slip my foot in. But those are the kind that you fall on because it's not really, your foot is not fully enclosed. So the kind that you actually put your foot in and has a back are the safest slippers to wear.
And a
Solid
little bit
bottom.
of salt.
And a solid bottom. Thank you. Not the flimsy, cozy kind. Those are nice, but you really want non-stick, hard sole, and that encloses your whole foot. So stairs and steps, inside and out. So clear any objects on the stairs. Fix uneven or broken steps. What about the lighting? That's huge. So just make sure that light, whether the switch is at the top, you know, a switch should be at the top and at the bottom. I love that. And fix loose carpet on stairs. Oh my gosh, that's just an accident waiting to happen. Or even loose or broken handrails on both sides of the stairs. Falling downstairs is the worst, right? There's a very high chance of getting, you know, a TBI. Okay, here we go. So in the kitchen, let's just talk about that. So place frequently used things off the top shelf. So do you see the one step stool that has, I like that. That's the kind of step stool you want. The pictures on the right-hand side, those are a big no. You don't want to put ladders up on anything special. You don't want to stand on your dog to reach.
Oh my goodness. Dog.
Okay, you really meant that.
That's what the picture shows.
Okay.
That little kid is standing on his dog. Okay, true confessions. I needed to get something behind my computer screen. I don't even remember what it was. And I couldn't reach. I have a really big screen and I couldn't reach behind it. So I stood up on my desk, my roller desk chair. And of course I'm leaning over, so I'm leaning over and it went out from underneath. I did twist the place where I have the most padding, hit the arm of the chair, and then that floor was carpeted at the time, and then I was on the floor. And I'm just laying there kind of taking inventory. And swearing at myself because how stupid. And then I had like a bruise, the size of a plate on the most padded part of my body. And just so happens the next week I had a dermatology appointment, just a skin check. And I swear they marked in my chart, you know, patient may be abused, you know, because I had this big freaking huge.
I almost fell for it like that.
But I didn't.
Okay, your bathroom. So non-slip rubber mats on the floor or shower or tub. You know, if you have tile and it gets wet, we all know what that looks like. Using support bars for the shower, tub, or toilet as well. You got to be careful if it's hard to tell what's in the bathtub, but it's just one of those mats that probably isn't suctioned down, and you can slip on that just as well. I do like the bars. The bars are good.
And you know, it's a walk-in shower, which is lovely. You don't have to step over. And I tripped over mine and I had my shower.
Really?
Big difference.
Yes.
Because the lip is about that big.
Yeah, it's 4 inches. I just had mine redone.
Now I
Perfect. Yep.
You could still trip on that though.
no, I don't. I train myself.
I could
You
trip
good
on
for an
that.
inch.
Good for an inch.
I could trip on a crack on the side.
I can trip on a ramp.
On a line.
Well, you know, I can too. And I can trip in your parking lot.
And what does that say? You know, we can all trip on these things that shouldn't make us trip. So we have to be like conscientious about every step that we're taking. Yeah. Okay, and then in our bedrooms, make sure that the lamps are close to your bed and it's easy to reach. And get that night light so you can see where you're walking at night. I like Batman, but whatever works, night lights are great. Okay, other things to do to prevent a fall. So exercise regularly, check, we're doing that. See your doc regularly because they can review meds for anything that may be causing dizziness or creating drowsiness. Get your vision checked. Get up slowly from a sitting or lying position. So bounding out of the chair or bounding out of bed no longer exists in this arena. We don't no longer bound. We get up very cautiously. Wear shoes inside and outside. Avoid barefoot or slippers. Improve lighting in your house. Consider fluorescent. Ugh. And paint a contrasting color on the edge, on the top edge of all steps for better visual. I think that's a really good thing. My in-laws have a step down into their living room and it's dark hardwood and somebody fell. So they have like orange tape on this beautiful floor, but you have to do that to be able to see that step. I kind of have the same thing in my house. I have a step down into my living room and it's not dark, but my neighbor was over and saw a picture and he's like, oh, look at that. And he did not see that that was a step down. I don't know how he did not fall. And he turned to me and said, I don't know how I did not fall. And I'm just like, oh my God, do I need to get the tape out? You know, maybe, maybe I should.
What's the design issue that so many houses have sunken floors and stuff, the mixed levels in the flooring? Why did they do that? Is that was style? That was.
You know what? I grew up with that and I wanted it in my house and my in-laws had it as well. So it was given, but I wish now I'd never done it. It is a pain in the butt and it's dangerous.
It must be actually more difficult to build it that way, right? I mean, yeah.
It was a style. Yeah.
What you're listening
Yes. Yes.
to, walking with your cell phone, paying attention to it, you absolutely tell broke the right. So I see a lot of people walking with their cell phone who have nearly walked into me, and I'm like,
Yes.
I would hope that we would know better, you know, but I'm not so sure that we do.
No, we don't, because you'll see it all the time. And I've seen YouTube videos of people watching their phone and then falling into like the water fountain, you know. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for not falling. What questions do you have for me?
You did not mention ears and hearing and how they influence our equilibrium.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So
What?
have your hearing checked.
That's a really good point. Oh. Seriously? Okay, she said have your hearing checked because hearing has a lot to do with your equilibrium. Okay, now I have a question for you. Can you get up off the floor if you have fallen? It's getting harder. So you should probably do it every day. Not fall, let me clarify, but get up. And you know what? I'm going to do something that I'm going to ask Linda to do something. So tell me if you can. I showed some of the people.
Getting down is just as hard.
Yeah, sometimes, but this is what nurses.
You stop your share.
This is something I learned in nursing school that we tell people, surgical patients that have had, you know, abdominal surgeries because you don't want to use your abdomen if it's been cut. And so if you're laying in bed, and I showed this group, right, Modest?
Where is,
Sound effects. I don't know which way. Okay,
need to be back.
I need to be.
Well, that's
Okay,
for the
so
rooms.
you're
I think we're,
I'm getting my
Speak
workout.
louder
here.
too.
What?
Speak louder.
Okay. It's a great way to get up. I'm not using my abs. Turning on my side. I'm bringing this arm up that's against the floor. And I'm just using it as a pillar. So I have a fist. And getting up that way. It's so much easier than doing than doing that. And you're not pulling at your back. You're not using your abs as much.
So lie down again. You could also push off on your left arm. Push.
This is not a.
Or your
oh,
right
you
arm.
mean Like,
No, just put your, just like, no.
Your
Well, like
free
this?
arm.
Like that. Push there. Well, it's getting you closer though. So
Oh,
I'm just saying, if you don't have the strength in that one arm to push up,
oh.
that's a lot of elbow strength, the way you're doing it.
Also, if you're in bed, this is the other thing I showed you guys, because use your legs as counterweight. So if you're in bed, put them over the side of the bed as you're getting up, because that's a counterweight.
I kick him over.
Oh, that's good. It's good. As long as you're not getting up like this, because you're pulling on your back as well. Okay.
It's different.
It is different.
As a kid doing that. One leg up and you fling it down.
So getting up and off the floor is really, really important. But if you find that yourself have, that you feel like you might be falling.
Okay, so this is what Cari wants me to do. She wants me to show you that if you fall down, how do you get up? But the more important thing is how do you fall down without hurting yourself? So that's where.
Did you all see that?
I'll do it again. But the part that's really hard about falling down and not hurting yourself is that your brain's not always
Right.
right. Because if you
Yeah.
if you had time to stop and think about what you were gonna do to help yourself, you probably wouldn't be in the position that you're in. So normally something happens, all of a sudden there's this crack, you step on it, boom, your face is on the floor. But if you have any presence at all while you're starting to fall, there's two things to think about. One is, can you catch yourself? Which is why those exercises where we do weightlifting are so helpful. So can you catch yourself and not fall? But if you can't catch yourself, my biggest encouragement is to think small. Okay, so you're starting to fall down and your reaction is to stick your arm out and catch yourself, and that's how you break your wrist. And the bad thing is when you fall behind you when you bonk your head. But if you're starting to fall and you're tripping, you really want to basically think small. That means you curl into yourself. So you bring your arms in, you tuck your head. So when you fall down,
You roll.
roll,
I cringe every time you do that.
and you're landing on this really nice fleshy part of your body, or at least my body, which is again another thinking of fitness. Why these maneuvers here, where you're rotating and using your upper body to throw at yourself, are helpful if you want that flexibility, so you can think small.
Oh my
and get
God.
into your fall.
So now when we do circuit training, Deidre with Des, instead of saying this, we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, the next time I fall,
Think small.
think small.
Think small, exactly.
Thank you,
Jody has-
Linda.
Several years ago, that we did this kind of talk here with Lily.
Mhm.
And something that I have used since then, is when you fall or when I'm down, to fall over.
Oh, I was gonna ask you to do that too.
On the seat.
Yes, will you show them that?
Sure. This is the part she likes the best.
Okay, before you show them, let me just tell you a 30-second story. Linda did this first in cardiac rehab at UC Davis. And I don't remember how
No, I can tell the story.
Okay, then you tell the story because it is burned in my mind, looking out over the patients and realizing what just happened. Go ahead.
Those of you that have been at UC Davis, the setup is that there's like a nurse's station and people sitting at the desk, and then the rest of the room is like this. All the people are on the floor exercising, and a gentleman came up to the desk, and I'm sitting there with next to Cari, and this man asked me, says, "How do you know if your blood pressure is too low?"
Oh, that's it.
And I said, "Oh." I stood up and I said, "Well, if your blood pressure is too low, this could happen." And I fell on the floor. And
You could have heard a pin drop. I was like, and all the patients were like, what?
Can you talk about your blood pressure?
Yes, yeah.
So you do it intentionally, Linda, or are you showing people? Or you really did get a low blood pressure?
No, no, no.
I said, "If your blood pressure is too low, this could happen." And I just laughed on the floor.
Wow.
Okay, now that you're down on the floor, how do you get up?
Well, you already showed us how to get up.
Oh, yeah, well, that's
your
one
side,
way.
But the other issue could be if you're hurt, if you're in pain because you broke something, then that obviously is gonna dictate how you're gonna get up. And you have to work around that the best that you can. So I think your biggest mission is to get somewhere where there's a telephone to get off the floor if you can. So if you had one of those call alerts, I guess you would touch that. But if you don't, and you want to crawl over to the phone, how are you going to get there? It's indeed probably how you're going to get there. If you're going to crawl, right? And it would depend on how you're hurt, but ways you can maneuver once you're down. I mean, the first mission, if possible, would be to sit up somehow. And I personally find it easier to push on this hand versus that, but I guess that would be an individual issue. So you get up to a sitting position. If you're then sitting on the floor,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you're sitting up, then how am I gonna get to the couch or to whatever? And that it depends on your circumstances, but when she's sort of going to do one, walk on your butt. Yeah. That's not a bad maneuver. And then the other thing you could do would be to roll over to your hands and knees. So you can
Oh.
actually indeed walk. Okay, so if I'm on hands and knees, then I could fall over to my chair and use that to get close to it. Put one foot up, and sit down. And then again, hopefully telephone's right here, so I can call whoever to come in. Who help me if I need help. You just need to get out, that's another choice. My own mom, I had to once crawl into the house from the mailbox.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Linda. Okay, so I'm not sure what needs to happen. There's a couple of YouTube videos I wanted to show you guys.
So you have to go back to your.
Okay.
So Cari, you didn't mention gait as far as picking up our feet and walking heel toe.
Did you hear what Leanne said? You know, so having a steady gait. Walking heel toe. Oh, a deliberate, I see what you're saying.
Yes, yeah.
Deliberate.
Cause I don't know why, but our legs like to shuffle. The knees don't bend anymore, yeah.
And I did trip the toe catches here and toe catches.
Yes.
My toe has no business being down.
Yeah, gotta remember to pick our feet up.
I was in a hotel over the weekend and there was out of the elevator, there just was a slight ramp up to our hall. And I don't know how many, every time I would catch myself.
Was it marked or anything?
Wasn't marked and no one else. Just me.
Was it padded?
What?
Was it padded?
Well, I didn't fall to the ground, but you know, everyone's like, What's wrong with you?
Every time you came to the Korea.
You know, I felt like, when I got a new pair of walking shoes, they have to stop. And I think they're 2 inches longer than regular shoes. And because I don't have the heel toe down every time I walk, I was picking up the corners of everything. And I thought, well, my feet just got a little big. I don't know what happened. You know, but I think with my shoe was too long.
Yeah, and have me in that heel toe, there's shoes that can encourage you to walk that way.
Oh, I
You know,
didn't
like a
that.
good sole, like a good sole. I,
I think you're back on your slide, so if you go to the slide.
okay. And just click.
Yes. It wouldn't hurt to make sure our sound is still there. Yeah, good. So yeah, you click here. If you can't hear this, Paul, you need to speak up.
It's not just our eyesight and hearing that start to fade as we get older. Millions of seniors also lose their balance. In fact, falling is the #1 cause of injuries among the elderly. But as Adriana Diaz shows us, researchers in Chicago have a high-tech approach to an age-old problem.
This stumble was no accident. It was for 81-year-old Mary Kay's own good. Mary is one of the hundreds of senior citizens coming to Dr. Clive Pye's lab at the University of Illinois, Chicago to learn how to fall with lots of help. The seniors who fall here are less likely to slip in the real world. This is Mary when she first came 4 years ago. This is her now. She's learned to stop herself from falling.
They will be walking and not feeling anything different. And then the next time they are walking, all of a sudden, it's like they intentionally step on a banana peel.
Seniors reported falling half as often after just 2 hours of simulated falling. The results lasted a year, according to Dr. Pye's study published in June. The learning happens subconsciously. Though cognitive memory tends to diminish in the elderly, Dr. Pye found that his subjects' muscle memory is sharp. Their bodies learn how to correct for a fall after a few controlled stumbles.
It's almost like they learn the dance moves. They know the footwork after they made a mistake.
His findings could have a big impact. Falling is the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries among the elderly, costing the healthcare system $30 billion a year. 1 in 3 adults 65 and older takes a spill at least once a year.
It's an awful thing to happen to you, and it happens to a lot of us. I mean, we are a falling generation, I guess.
You can see this right foot, instead of swing through, she actually stayed in the back. She lifted up, but she put it down because that is what is needed to overcome the backward falling.
Dr. Pye invited me to try, but increased the settings to the highest level. The first fall was ugly, but the second wasn't as bad. Dr. Pye hopes that same muscle memory learning can one day be taught to seniors around the world so they can move forward with confidence. Adriana Diaz, CBS News, Chicago.
Isn't that cool?
Where was that?
Yeah. I'm not sure how to get out of that, Linda.
Magic button is escape. And now you want to show this one.
Yeah.
You get one of those keys here? They should have one downstairs. I don't think they do, but they.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
I love our body.
Hi, I'm Kat, and I'm the Director of Rehabilitative and Exercise Therapies here at the Power Gym. I'm also a Power Moves therapist, and my goal today with our Power Moves of the Month is to really work on how to practice falling. So our goal is to practice falling in a really safe way so that we can then prevent actual falls and injury if falling in the future. So we're going to start with a chair. Usually when we fall, we want to aim to avoid really tight bony areas like the side of the hip and the side of the shoulder. We want to get as many meaty parts down on the ground as possible to absorb that fall. And one of the goals is to avoid stopping the fall completely, because sometimes we get more injured by doing that. So what I like to start with when people are nervous about falling is grabbing the chair and practice going down with a side twist and just getting down from here. And then we get to practice getting back up again from hands and knees. Come back up on the chair, step and power up. Then once people feel comfortable with that, what I like to do is take a step stool, and we practice the same thing with the idea that if I fall, I don't want to have outstretched arms, because that can often lead to injury up the arm. So I want to aim for landing on my side. So I have the person grab, twist, and land, and then come back up from here. We can rock back, use our power step to come back up again, all the way up. And then once that becomes more familiar, then what we can do is actually practice in slow motion again on a soft surface, like maybe even the bed if somebody is uncomfortable, but on the floor, on a mat, we can practice getting down into our squat position. We roll, come back up, practicing going on hands and knees, and from here, standing completely. Once that is more comfortable, then you can do it a lot faster. So we could go from this position and we can practice actively going down, rolling back up, and then powering up from here. And so using our power moves, we can really work on safe falls and how to get back up right again.
Linda did it better. You know,
So these will be posted on the webpage. So if you go to Cari's slideshow, it's this slide. And we could print that for you if you like.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
So Nancy mentioned she has knee replacement, right?
No,
But bad knees. How do you get over up on your knees and do all that if you have a knee replacement or bad knees?
Well, I have 2 knee replacements, so
Oh, you
obviously
do?
you just do it.
You're in better shape.
I'm sorry, what did you
I
say?
think you're in a better space having replaced, because people I know that have replaced me,
Yeah, there's,
dance around me. So.
How long ago was it?
no, she doesn't have any replacement. She
Oh.
says she needs one,
Oh, got it.
but
Oh.
she has a bad knee. Well, you have a bad knee. Is your issue. Your knee hurts, and so,
It hurts from my waist down.
Yeah.
My knees up there.
right.
So I don't go to yoga anymore, because when I go down and up, I have to do the three point stance like a football player. And it's so awkward, and I don't even want to get. You know?
But see, now that's exactly, you're starting doing that catch 22.
Right.
I don't want, I don't want to do it. I don't like the way it looks. It's clumsy for me
Or painful?
or painful. And then you're just creating a bigger risk for you to fall. So maybe it's not yoga, maybe it's something else.
I guess
Right.
you don't. get
Well,
the
or to
same-
do the same moves that you should be doing in yoga, but not in this public setting that makes you uncomfortable.
Do you do the
them at home.
circuits with Linda?
I'm sorry.
Do you do the circuits with Linda?
Oh, I'm her favorite student. And she always knows when I come.
So you'll be joining us at 1:15.
I don't think I can.
Okay.
Anyway, obviously, it's a setting like this where you're in
This
like
is
company,
great.
this is what you need to do more of. And, or do it at home on your own, if you will.
Self-direction.
Yeah, so-
I love the mats, not the mats, the table.
Yeah.
What do they call
Those are nice. You
Raised
don't have
beds.
to get any.
It's everything. I've been religiously doing her circuits for 3 months, and I have better flexibility, better balance, and my hips are so much more not stiff. I don't, so what does that mean?
Flexible.
More flexible, I guess. I thought that was it for me, that I was just gonna be, so tight, but I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. There was hope. So there's hope.
Fine, but you gotta pick it up.
It's baby steps. It really is. It's baby steps. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so, oh yeah, Modest. Yeah.
One of that was lady fell in the house. She cannot get up in the neighborhood. I got up in my house. And I don't know, she knew that somebody was out. And she calling for help. Help.
Yeah.
Help. I went to see my wife. Was there. That's somehow I said,
Yeah.
Not no. I think that I see you going to be something different. So I stopped. And one of the neighbor was coming up and saw me at the close to the yard. But he walked through. And he opened the gate. He walked in. He was on the floor. Help. Help to get up. And then he has up his room. He was there. Crying. I called 911.
Perfect.
Wait until
Yes.
came.
Yes.
Oh, that one is the house.
Yes.
Then you somebody trying for help. Should you step in or not?
Well, what you have sustained, she may have had a broken vertebrae or something, and then by moving her, all of a sudden she's paralyzed. So you just don't know. But when you call 911, you're bringing